Welcome back to Treasure Hunt. Treasure Hunt is all about biblical archaeology and some of the digs and some of the excavations that they find when they hit the news. Oftentimes, we will go back and do a presentation on something from the past that has been found and not much is known about it. Or a new find will happen at a location, at a site, and we'll go and dig into the past that they've had some others and put them together for us. All right, today something came out in 2021, the year we're in right now, but it had to do with a little bit of time ago. But at Lachish, it was a 3,500-year-old alphabet tablet. And let's just look at this shortly. Our presentations are not long, but we try to be thorough. The dig at Tel Lachish, it's a city in the Bible, the Old Testament, has given us the oldest piece of writing ever found in Israel. It opens the window a little further on the study of the first alphabets. The writing has a combination of 6 letters on 2 different lines. Now, that might not sound significant, but it is, especially that they're doing two lines and they're organizing. So here is where Lachish is. The red are empires. You can see the Philistines lopped off there, and then some of the land of the 12 tribes. But there is Lachish, and can you see as you go up a little bit, start going northeast, you see Bethlehem, and then ultimately Jerusalem. That gives you sort of an idea of how far away things are. This is Lachish today on air view, and you can see where the city once stood. You can see the agricultural possibilities that they had out in the area. And then do you see where the excavation has started? And it will only expand. They've been up there, I think, since 2013. Here's an eye view up above. And once again, its location. Written on a shard, which is a piece of pottery, and this has been found at Lachish. And here is a portion of that. There are the letters on 2 lines, and we'll come back to them a little bit later on. This artifact was discovered in 2018 by Dr. Felix Hoffelmeier of the Austrian Archaeological Institute at the Austrian Academy of Sciences. That is a mouthful. The excavation began on this in 2017, so this is 4 years in the making this far. Also found was a throne of a different sort than you are thinking of. It's actually a toilet. Tel Lachish dates back to around 1500 BC, which would make this a Canaanite civilization. Joshua and Israel would not show up to conquer the land for around 100 years. They are just about getting close to coming out of Egypt, though. On the top, there was a Canaanite temple that they have excavated. Then this would have been to a false god, to Baal. The Word of God records the battle and victory of Joshua and Israel in Joshua 10, verses 31 to 33. So this is after Joshua arrives. Lachish is a thriving city. It's considered a fortress. And God has brought Israel across the Jordan River, and the conquering of the Promised Land is well underway. And so here's the verses about Lachish. And it says, "And Joshua and all Israel with him moved on from Libnah to Lachish. They laid siege to it and fought against it. And the Lord delivered Lachish into the hand of Israel, which took it on the 2nd day," just took 2 days, "and smote it with the edge of the sword and all the souls that were therein, according to all that he had done to Libnah. At that time Horam, king of Gezer, went to help Lachish, but Joshua struck him down along with his people, leaving no survivors. Lachish became an Israelite city on land the tribe of Judah would inhabit. It would remain an important city in Israel until the Assyrians came and destroyed it in 701 BC. So for roughly 700 years, Israel would have control of this city and Israelites would live in it. Here is just a quick study of Lachish in the Bible. And here is, remember the big mound I show you? This is sort of how the dig is going to play out, because they've examined the lay of the land, used infrared, and now they can use drones with great magnifying as well as what's down into the ground techniques. So in 1420 BC, the city was taken approximately by Joshua. We read that in Joshua 10. In 940 BC, it was fortified by one of actually King Solomon's son, Rehoboam, when he took the throne. In 785, the kingdom had divided under Rehoboam, and so Jeroboam took the northern tribes and it had the northern kingdom called Israel, and Judah was pretty much just left by herself and was the southern kingdom, but had Jerusalem. And there was a conspiracy against King Azariah in Judah, and the conspiracies being done in Jerusalem. The king flees to Lachish, where they catch up to him and they kill him. And he's not a good king. In 701 that I mentioned previously, Sennacherib from Assyria takes the city and makes it his base to take and attack Jerusalem. You can read that whole story in 2 Kings 18. We know that back in Assyria, when the Assyrians would go back, they never reported their losses and defeats. They always made it big. And so this is from the archives and the studies of Dr. David E. Graves. And you can see talking about flaming arrows, and you can read about the battle that they had at Lachish. And this is the actual stone engraving. Here is another one. And it talks about Sennacherib, the mighty king, king of the country of Assyria, sitting on the throne of judgment before the city of Lachish. I gave permission for its slaughter. In 444 BC, when the Jews returned from exile, Lachish would be one of the cities they would rebuild. It was just in ruins. There was nobody there. Back to our expedition today. And by the way, Lachish is not mentioned in the New Testament at all. That would date it around the time of Abraham and Job, when this was written, 2000. When Abraham showed up, he did not have any trouble talking with the people because the Canaanites were distant blood relatives dating back to Noah. Ham, the son of Noah, and his descendants were sent that direction and to inhabit that land and as far as into Egypt. And so Canaan was a son of Ham. And so he brought his people there, and that whole big land became the land of Canaan. So when Abraham shows up, he's in the land of Canaan, but God has given Abraham all of this land and said it belongs to you. I'm going to make a great nation out of you. And so the Canaanites were not believers. They were not monotheistic, one God. They did not believe in Jehovah God as Abraham did. They were worshiping idols. They picked up on idols that were in the land already. So moving on. Here is what is written and translated on this. The inscription bears letters that the researchers identified as Ayin, Bet, and Daled, forming a word that can be Eved, which back then, as well as in modern Hebrew, means slave. Interesting. Okay, now keep in mind, this was not pure Hebrew, but it was on the verge of that. It was Canaan. But what other language would they be speaking? But you can see how the influence of a new society would pervert something that doesn't have an alphabet. And it's hard to write things down. Things oftentimes just got passed on verbally. The second word deciphered on the feature of Nun Pen Tav, NPT, is nectar. And so what you have is alphabet speaking two words, one on top of another, but it's not in a sentence, but slave and nectar. Who knows what's on the rest of the part of the pottery? Did this jar carry nectar in it? Probably. And I have no idea what slave would mean. That's part of what archaeology is all about. And so we'll leave it at there, and I want to give credit. This was a great find, so my encouragement to them, the good doctor and his staff, keep digging. And these I want to give credit to. It's where pictures and the story. And I don't call it a bibliography, I call it a digliography. So thank you so much, and God bless you. And please join us again for another one. Check my playlist in YouTube, and I add these every now and then, and it's getting to be a good supply already. God bless you.